Hey guys, I want to go over a little bit of information about transferring to universities, but also I want to go over college loans. So this is for everybody, even if you're not planning on transferring. So very quickly, let's review the transferring information. In your advisor meeting assignment, you were required, if you were transferring, to go to My Degree Pathway. When you clicked on that, it gave you the 16 public universities and colleges here in North Carolina. Now, we're going to use mainly East Carolina and UNC Chapel Hill because they show a really good difference in cost. Now, before we get into cost, let's go into the classes themselves. So if you are an Associates of Arts or an Associates of Science student, you know this is what your check sheet looks like. The main difference between Associates of Arts and Science are the number of math credits, the number of natural science credits, as opposed to in the Associates of Arts, the number of humanities and fine arts and social and behavioral sciences. Why should you be an Associates of Arts or an Associates of Science? You should speak to your counselor or feel free to send me an email if you are considering changing or if you want to know why you are in the program that you're in. The skinny of it is all about what you plan on doing after you transfer. So let's go back to transfer. When you click your university, I'm going to use East Carolina, then you will find the degree that you want to get. In my case, I want to do political science. Now, a bachelor's of arts versus a bachelor's of science. The difference is arts normally have additional foreign language requirements, where science normally has additional information within your major. That is just an example from ECU. This is not for every school and it's not for every degree here at ECU. I can only speak on the behalf of these two because I've done my research. Now, how do you figure that out? How do you do your research? Well, guys, you're going to actually have to do your research and click on it. And I can look here at this Bachelor's of Arts between the Associates of Arts and the Associates of Science. The only requirement differences that I see here are the Gen Ed courses, which are required for the Bachelor's of, or the Associates of Arts, as opposed to the Associates of Science, because it knows on this sheet you'll have that additional science and math class. But for the most part, beyond that, there's no real differences. Now, this tells you that you need to have those 4 Gen Ed course hours in math, where the Associates of Arts says that you need to have 3 or 4. So really, it doesn't matter which degree. You could actually get away with an Associates of Arts in this program. But you have to actually research this. Guys, you're in college now. This is your role. You don't rely on people to tell you what to do in life. You have to research it. You have to make up your own opinions. You get advice from advisors. They do not tell you what to do. They give you advice. You are ultimately responsible for this. So, let me get out of this tirade here that I'm going on and go to the main idea of this degree. Now, in political science, these are all your requirements. So this degree is 120 hours long, 120 credit hours. And these are all the classes you need to take. Now, if we review back to this check sheet, we know that this only accounts for 60 credit hours. It's easier to see this right here on this sheet. The 60 credit hours are right here. Now, what that means is your Associates of Arts or Science is literally the first half of this degree. It is called the General Education Requirements, or it is called the Core Curriculum or whatnot. Now, you would see here it says, well, this is only 40 credit hours. That is true. But those 60 credit hours take care of a lot of these other courses that are required within this degree, which is why we use this check sheet. Because this check sheet is where the university has gone in and compared our Associates of Science and Arts check sheets against their own check sheets and made sure that you're taking classes that transfer within your major so that you're not taking classes you don't need to take. Now, this does not mean rely on advisors to tell you what to take. You should be learning these check sheets. That is your job as a student, to make sure you are not spending your money on things that you don't need. Your advisors are there to help you with this. So guys, please, please, please learn how these sheets work. It does not take much time. It just is a lot of information. But trust me, as someone who's been in this exact same spot as you should be very careful about that. So the skinny of the situation is, out of a 4-year degree, roughly 2 years of that degree should be taken, or could be taken, here at Nash. And there's some advantages of that. The main one I want to talk about right now is the financial advantage of going to a community college and then transferring to a university rather than immediately transferring to a university after high school. So I want to start here with the cost of one credit hour. It is $76 per credit hour here at Nash. ECU, $166.41. UNC, $237. And at Wesleyan, it's $425. Now, I misspelled Wesleyan, sorry about that. Now, this is a rough estimation of any private college in North Carolina, including Barton. Each one of those schools, the transferring information is very different. You will really need to speak to a counselor both at the school that you plan on transferring to and at the college here at Nash. I have made this little cheat sheet. So here I want to talk about Math 171, which is right here, a 4 credit hour course. So at NCC, like I said, $76. If I multiply that by the 4 credit hours that Math 171 is, then we know that we end up with $304 here at Nash. At ECU, we end up at $664. At UNC, $948, and at Wesleyan, $1,700. So while at Nash it's $304, the difference between going to these schools and getting that exact same class in a classroom with less students and having more individual one-on-one time with your instructor, you're actually saving $360 at Nash. $644 as compared to UNC, and $1,396 at Wesleyan. Now, there's a little bit more to this. I'm not doing this because the school told me to do it. This is all my experience. I want to pass that knowledge on to you because I want you to do things smart, because money will be the hardest thing to manage for the rest of your life. So let's talk about tuition. So at Nash Community College, tuition is roughly $263.2 a year. At ECU, $7,238, UNC, $89.80, Wesleyan, $31,650. So I've applied those numbers, and this is off of a 4-year degree. This is not going to be the same for everybody. And I have done 1 year, 2 years, and 4 years. Now, this third column I've done where I've taken the 2 years from Nash, and I've added it to the 2 years from the universities as follows. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to show you that 4 years at ECU will cost about $30,000. Whereas if you did your 2 at Nash and then 2 at a university and transferred, it cost you about $20,000, which is a savings about $9,000. Now at Wesleyan, it's going to be a lot larger, but I do want you to consider that the average scholarship at Wesleyan is about $5,200. That's a lot of money, but at the same time, it still does not give you the prices that you would find at a public institution. This is one of our biggest benefits here in North Carolina, is our universities are much cheaper than our private ones and much cheaper than those around the United States. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about UNC because I want you to see just how big of a difference that $12,000 really is when you apply it to a college loan. So your total loan with just UNC was $35,920 right here, right? Now, I want to put that into a loan calculator, which is bankrate.com. I strongly suggest you using this. It's really great to figure out how much your student loan will cost you. Now, I've put in less years here so that the numbers are not as inflated as they will be. We will discuss that more in a minute. What you do need to realize, though, is that these are very conservative estimates. So this is you paying a lot each month, $413. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you get out of college and you're struggling to make that $25,000 to $35,000 a year here in Eastern North Carolina, you'll realize that takes a big chunk out of your check each year. Now, if I have that $35,920 loan for 10 years at the average interest rate, which is 6.8 right now, I guess not right now during COVID, your interest that you will pay is roughly $13,684, which brings your total to $49,604. That's a huge jump in interest. And I'm telling you guys, this is something that I can say I have experienced it firsthand. I have seen people who had loans of $55,000 who have paid more in interest than I paid in my actual principal. So let's look at this loan where you transferred. The number was 23,224, and it came out with roughly $9,000 in interest at a 32.71, which means that you saved roughly $17,000 as opposed to just 12 earlier. So that's a considerable difference. These numbers are constantly going up more and more. So let's go into the average college debt in the United States, which is roughly $30,000. And then let's talk about paying off college loans. How long does it take you? So the average is less than $7,500 is 10 years. If you owe between 75 and 9, 12, 10 and 20, 15, 20 and 40, up to 20 years. 40 to 60, 25, and 60 is more than 30 years. Guys, I have friends who I graduated in 2010 with. They are probably looking at a little longer than 25 right now because of the financial situation that they experienced after graduating with degrees in things like biology and having a job as soon as they graduated. It is not as easy as you would imagine when your student loan per month cost is as much as the mortgage on your house. And guys, mine was roughly the same cost at one time, and I only had $16,000 in college loans. After I got my bachelor's and my master's degree, I was paying roughly $200 less now on my mortgage than I paid on my student loans at that same time. So the last thing I want to talk about is for those who are considering loan forgiveness. So on a loan of $30,000, we're going to use that average college loan that we learned about earlier at our average 6.8% interest, which brings us to $24,960.45 because we have to pay that interest for 20 years on this loan. That brings our total to $54,000 or $55,000 roughly. Now, if we're paying $156 a month because we may have a income-based repayment plan, that means that we only pay $37,440, and most people would say, "Oh wow, that's $17,000 that we're being forgiven." That's still only us paying $7,440 more dollars in the loan. The problem with that is any amount that you were forgiven, you must pay taxes on that year as if it was income. So if you made less than $60,000, technically less than $54,000, this would only be taxed at roughly 33% as your standard taxes are. And that means that your total would end up being $43,221.75 for this loan, with a whopping $13,960.75 paid in interest on top of, paid in interest on top of that $30,000 loan. So it does save you a little bit of money, but you have to pay this out for 20 years. You cannot miss one single payment. You can never mess up any on your paperwork because you have to reapply for this every single year. Anytime that you do mess up on that paperwork, it could void your loan-based or income-based forgiveness plan. Please be careful. Do not rely solely on this. You will end up paying more than your principal. And if you're paying over that lifespan, you will actually end up paying more most of the time in those 20 years than someone who just paid that loan off standard. So be careful about that. So guys, I'm sorry to have talked so long, but I think this stuff is so important. Please watch this video again if you need to. Go back and find important things. I hope this helps. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for watching.